Okay, so I'm going to try to explain the CI process that we follow at Minter. So Minter, it's a decentralized public publishing platform or application on top of IPFS and other decentralized technologies. Um, we have a monorepo, which also has multiple languages that we use to build the application. So you can see here that we have the backend folder and front end folder, and inside front end there's a huge also. It's not a huge. It's a moderate um, JavaScript TypeScript monorepo that we separate all the packages like for to make it easier to work with. So um, the I have here a write-up. So if I go here, so you see here that this repo is a multi-language repo. We use Nix and Bazel to manage the project dependencies because as JavaScript developers, you know that dependency versions are a thing, or it's very common to have mismatch on those and have some problems on those areas. So anytime like Nix and Bazel manage all the tools that we need and install the appropriate version of the tools that we need. So that enables us to do. So here I have the repo. I'm using work trees in Git, so that's why I can do that. I have like all the branches that I'm working um, uh, as files, which is very nice. Um, so you see that anytime I enter the repo or enter one branch, direnv, which is a tool that loads all your environment variables, runs. And not only direnv runs, it also runs Nix and makes sure that you have all the necessary tools installed. So, for example, we use Yarn in the front end project, and you don't need to have Yarn installed globally in order to run the application in your machine, because when the moment you enter this repo, you're gonna get Yarn installed in your machine. So this is very cool. So yeah, we use Nix, dependencies. Then the front-end projects, we use Yarn Workspaces because we are using one UI library called Tamagui. And Tamagui is I can open a website for that. So Tamagui. So Tamagui is a React Native plus web UI components that you can use in your native and web applications. And we use this because we are aiming to have React Native in the future. So right now we just have two projects, and I can show you here. We have two apps, which is the desktop application and the site, which is a Next.js project. The desktop application is an Electron app, and then you can see that we have packages, which are all the like separate like modules that we use and share between both those two projects, the site and the desktop application. So we use this structure because it's the structure that Tamagui follows to reuse a lot of components in the to use a lot of components in their projects. So we just use that. And then we have two projects, desktop and site. Then the desktop app is built entirely using GitHub Actions. I'm gonna go into that right now. And sites are built as Docker containers because we have a setup that you can just upload or like install your site using just Docker Compose. So yeah, let's just see how. Well, I want to show first how we work. So the way that we work is that we always like work on the main branch. In our case, is master, and every feature just goes there. We try to use environment variables when, environment variables or feature flags, that's the name, to enable or disable things. But usually right now, we're not using those pretty like too much. But in the future, when we start having more users and more use cases, we definitely need to, and adding more features, we definitely need to add the environment variables. So we can still continue working on adding things to master. So then we have a process in that every time you push to master, there's a validation scripts that are going to run. So if we go to .github workflows and we go to validate, so you see that this action runs every time there's a push to the branch master, and these files are changed. This also happens when there's a pull request. So every time there's a pull request to that branch called master or any branch, we check if there's any change in these files, and we run this job, which essentially just validate and test this part of the application. So we need to run this CI setup, which I can go. I can show you. This essentially just installed all the needed tools that we need to run the whole project, because again, like I told you, it's not only a JavaScript project or a TypeScript project. It also has Go and has other languages, other tools that we need to make sure those are set. So then we're only running this on Ubuntu. For now, maybe we need to test and do all that in all the platforms that we support, which is Mac, Windows, and Linux, and Linux. And then we build the backend so we can then run the generate the application or generate a binary for the desktop application, and then we can test, because we are testing against these are end-to-end tests right now, and we're testing against the real backend. So, and the same happens to sites. We have these paths that we check. If those paths are changed, then we run all this. And then the tests are normal, like Next.js or JavaScript tests that we run those. I believe right now we don't have any tests in the sites. We should add tests over there, but we needed this system in place to make things easier to work with. So, like I said, this runs on every push to master or the main branch, and on every pull request that is created. So that's good. Then we have the release process. So the release process like right now only focuses on the desktop application, but in the future it will also include the sites. Because we need to make sure sites and like the sites and the desktop application follow the same protocol and the same pattern. So we need to integrate that in the future, but right now this only focuses on the desktop release. So here's the desktop release process. Essentially, there's two ways that we can trigger this release, and you can see here that this action only triggers when there's a tag pushed with this pattern. And who can push this tag? So two places. So the first one is this, where is this release tag? So we have this action that is it runs on every Tuesday at 6 a.m. and it essentially just get the new version, sets the new version for the application, and pushes that tag to the repo. And that will trigger the desktop release. So every Tuesday, we're going to have a new release with a new tag, and everything will work properly. But then there's another way that we can test, that we can set a release, which is manually. And that happens when we have this, I can show you in the terminal. So here, if I do dev, we have this CLI, like custom CLI that we have. So
we have all these commands, and you see that at the end we have this release command. And this release command only focuses on generating the new tag and push that new tag to the repo. And we wanted to do this because we didn't want to push any code to generate a new release. We wanted to just tag one commit and trigger the whole release process. I believe that's cleaner than other processes. And again, we don't need to change any package JSON versions or anything. We can just do that. Actually, we do that while that action is being run. But we don't need to commit that. So if you can see, if I go to the package JSON in the desktop application, we just have a placeholder here. But if you go here and you see there's there's a step that we take the version that we got from the get version job or process, and we just run this script that if we go there, set desktop version, it just takes the package JSON, add the version here, and then try to save that. If not, there's an error, and we can just bail. But this is very simple. And we don't need to commit this new version. We just need this to be in place in order for the binaries to catch the appropriate version and have that in the name. So I can show you what happens if we don't do that and in our a previous release. And yeah, you see that, well, you can go and see that everything is open source. So if you go here, you can just see all the files and ask questions or whatever you need to. And yeah, I believe that's what we want. Some things, let me see the CI. Well, the commits number, this is a non-conventional like way to name our versions, but we found that it was just easier and for us to know what versions was which version of the application was pointing to which part of the code. So yeah, I don't know, maybe we'll change it in the future. Who knows? But yeah, we can also run everything locally. Like I said, we have in the package, let's just see, is this, no. Let's just go to the root package JSON, and you can see we're using turbo repo to cache some results, so make things faster. And we have all this like lint, format, validate. Validate runs both lint and format. And then we have script for sites and script for the desktop application. And also some other stuff that we might need or not. Actually, we can just remove some old scripts that we don't need. So yeah, this is the process that we follow. Maybe we might change in the future some things that we want to add, and I want to add is maybe that for every PR we can build the application and create artifacts, so you can download the application and test the application before lands into master, which essentially is like a pre-release. But I need to get some consensus with the team first. So yeah, this is how we work in Minter in the CI part.